What's up, guys? So in this video I'm going to teach you what taking title means. Basically it means proving ownership. Can't sell anything until you know if someone actually owns it. And I'm also going to teach you the difference between personal property and real estate. And third, we're going to be a little bit more specific about what we mean when we say real estate. We're going to break it down into 3 different definitions, all similar, have similarities, but are different. We're going to talk about land, real estate, and real property, and it'll all be on the test. It's very important. It's foundational information. If you don't understand these definitions, you won't even be able to answer some of the questions on the test. Questions won't be as simple as what's the difference between real property and personal property. It'll be a little bit more complex. So instead of giving you 100 definitions to memorize, I really want you to see the whole structure of the real estate transaction, the timing of the steps, and all the special cases that you'll need to know for the test. Also, in the description, I'll have a summary of everything I'm talking about, definitions, practice questions, and an index of all the videos. So it'll be in the description if you need it. And a quick thing, just leave a comment if something was unclear to you, or leave a comment if you thought something was said well. Just leave a comment so I know how I can improve these videos in the future, because I plan to remake this video over and over again and make it better each time. So you want to be a real estate agent that helps a buyer find a house to buy, or works with a seller and helps them find a buyer to buy their house. And before we get into what a real estate agent can and can't do, you need to understand, before you can do any of this, you need to prove that the seller actually owns a house if you want to sell it, or if you want to have a buyer buy it from them. So that's the most important thing. And maybe a story will help you kind of remember it, but just imagine you're walking downtown, walking down the street, and you see a guy standing next to a BMW, and he's like, "Hey man, I need some money. I'll sell you my BMW for like $500. And it's a $30,000 car, let's say. And it sounds like a great deal, but I mean, even if he had the keys, that doesn't prove ownership. So how would you prove that the guy owns a car, right? You would need like a pink slip or something like that, right? A receipt, a bill of sale. For personal property, you need a bill of sale to prove that you own it. So, you know, when you go to the DMV, that's what you do when you register the car, right? You need to have some type of bill of sale to prove that you own it to register it. So super important for buying and selling real property and personal property. For real property, you use a deed to prove ownership. So now we're going to talk about the difference between personal property and real property. For some reason, it's on the test. Personal property is called chattel. I don't know why it's called that. It just is, so remember it. And a quick definition for personal property. Personal property goes with the person when they leave. Realty land stays on the land. And generally realty is immovable and stays there. So that's important to know too. So the definition for personal property seems kind of lazy, but once you understand the definition for real estate, it'll make more sense. The definition for personal property that you need to remember is it's anything that's not real property. Because real property has a very specific definitions, and anything that's not that is personal property. And personal property can be tangible things like cars and mugs and a bed, and it could also be intangible things like stocks, which you would prove ownership with some type of paperwork. And it is transferred with a bill of sale. That's what it's called. It's on the test. So here's the first weird definition, and remember, personal property goes with the person and real property stays on the land. It's connected to it. The first weird definition is called emblement, and it refers to annually harvested crops. So let's say that you're a tenant. That means you're renting from a landlord, you don't own the real estate, and you decide to start growing crops on the land. It's actually considered your personal property. Even though it's connected to the real estate, it's considered your personal property. So if the landlord evicts you, you're still entitled to harvest the crops at a later date and, you know, sell it for money. And I know it sounds super random, but I'm pretty sure some sketchy landlord was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick this tenant out before he can harvest his crops so I can take it and sell it as my own." So every rule in real estate was made because someone did something sketchy, and they made a rule to fix that problem. So let's get to the main definition we want to work on, realty, real estate. Real estate is just a general term the population uses to mean land, real estate, and real property. And those are all three different things, and we're going to go over how they differ and how they're connected. A quick definition: real estate is generally immovable, which means it can't be moved, like a house, plumbing, all that stuff. So let's define land, real estate, and real property. They're not completely different. It's actually, land is one type of thing, and then real estate includes land plus some extra things, and then real property includes land, real estate, and some extra things like rights, like a bundle of rights. So land isn't just the soil on top. It actually starts at the core of the earth and goes in a cone shape up towards the sky. And also it includes any naturally grown or occurring structures like trees, shrubs, water, gas, minerals in the ground, oil. Those naturally occurring structures are called, it's a special definition, it's called fructus naturalis. It's important, it's on the test. Now, rivers, lakes, and oceans are slightly different. They're commonly governed by federal, state, and local laws for use and ownership. So real estate includes everything in land, but also includes permanent objects attached to the land, like a house, a fence, the roof, the carpet. And you may think this is unnecessary, but I'm pretty sure someone sold somebody a house and then was like, well, if it's not attached, it's not part of the real estate, and just screwed everything off and took all the pieces of wood, and the guy showed up to bought the house and it was like completely gutted. So they probably made a rule explaining that. So that doesn't happen. There is an acronym that's very helpful to determine if it's a permanent fixture and is considered real estate, or if it's personal property and goes with the person when he or she moves. The acronym is MARIA. It's M for method, A for adaptability, R for relationship, I for intention, and A for agreement. M stands for method. It relates to method of attachment. Was it cemented to the ground? Was it screwed in? Was it nailed in? If so, it's a permanent fixture. I mean, even if it can be easily removed, like a light fixture or a ceiling fan, it's still a permanent fixture, and when you do sell the house and leave, you don't take it with you, it would be weird, and it would be just a bad experience for the buyer when he shows up and it's like all his light fixtures and fans are gone. So that's why that rule was made. A is for adaptability. If the home was adapted to fit a specific item, like a custom built-in fridge, like not a normal fridge, but if it's an integral part of the kitchen and has like built custom cabinets with it, even if it is easy to remove and unplug, it's still a fixture that stays with the home. Just imagine if a buyer comes to this house and sees this beautiful kitchen, and then when he comes back after he buys it and sees that this custom fridge is gone, and to have to replace that would be so much work because it was custom built for the kitchen. That's why that rule was made. R is for relationships of the parties. Have you heard of the term tie goes to the runner? It's a similar idea. If there's a dispute between a tenant and a landlord, the tenant is likely to win. And if there's a dispute between a buyer and a seller, the buyer is likely to win. That's just what that means. I is for intention. What was the intention when the item was attached? Like a built-in bookcase or a rose bush. Those would be considered real estate. A is for agreement between parties. Purchase contracts usually contain a clause that defines the items to be included in the sale. What the two parties agree upon trump the rules for the other fixtures. So the personal property and the permanent attachment thing gets a little confusing because, for instance, roof shingles and carpeting, when you first buy it, before it's attached, is actually your personal property. Then once you attach it, then those rules apply. So after that, then you have to use the acronym MARIA to find out if it's still personal property or if it's now attached to the real estate and stays with the real estate. A special definition is a trade fixture, which relates to a business, an item from business like a dentist chair. That is still considered personal property even though it's attached to the ground. If a printing company attached a really big printer to the ground, when they move out, it would be weird if they left it there. They'd want to take it with them. So that is a special case. If it's a trade fixture, even if it's attached, it's still personal property and it goes with the business. So we discussed land and real estate. The next one is real property, which includes the two, plus adds some intangible things like your bundle of rights. Basically, it's the legal rights that is provided to the owner. Like one of them is your right to exclude people from entering your property, and the right to dispose of and sell your property. Those are two very important rights in the bundle of rights. There is an acronym to help you remember these bundle of rights. There's 5 of them. CPEED, CPEED. C stands for the right to control. P stands for the right to possess. E stands for the right to exclude. The second E stands for the right to enjoy, and D stands for the right to dispose or sell. C stands for your right to control, which means you can add certain restrictions to your property. For example, the way a homeowners association adds certain restrictions to the type of garden ornaments or the type of pet ownership you can have on the property. P stands for the right to possess, basically means the title holder is the legal owner, and that's just a self-explanatory one, but it's important to put in there. The first E stands for your right to exclude, which means you can limit who may use and enter your property. That's a pretty important one that people understand. The second E is right to enjoy, which means the title holder may participate in activities he finds joyful. That is within legal limits, so you can't kill someone in your house. It's still illegal. That's not a right. And the last one, D, stands for the right to dispose, which means you can get rid of it, get rid of your property, usually for money. You can sell it, you can transfer the ownership temporarily or permanently. Real property also includes something crazy called incorporeal appurtenances. So an appurtenance basically means extras, okay? So go with that. Before we go to incorporeal, let's talk about corporeal. Corporeal means something physical, like a septic tank, plumbing, but that's more part of real estate, right? Like a permanent fixture. So incorporeal means something you can't touch, but it's still a right you have, like the water rights, the rights of way, and another thing called an easement, which I will define in another video. It needs more explanation. So we're a little bit more specific about real estate, right? Land, real estate, real property. And we kind of explained taking title means proving ownership, and you don't want to buy anything or you can't sell anything until you can prove its ownership. And with personal property or chattel, you prove ownership with a bill of sale, a receipt, a pink slip. Like if you go to the DMV, when you buy a car, you need to show them a bill of sale to register it. Now with real estate, you don't use a bill of sale. You use something called a deed, which I will explain in the next video. There are many types of deeds and it gets pretty confusing. And I would love it if you left a comment on things that you thought were unclear or things that you thought were said well. Please leave a comment. Or if you just learned something, leave a comment. Just leave a comment. But that will help me make better videos in the future. I plan to redo these videos and make them better and better and better. So thank you for watching.